Southern California, and welcome to this week's episode of Right on the Money with Tom Mosley, brought to you by the team of Mosley Wealth Management. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, here with Tom. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management, and today we are going to be addressing the question, if you are 5 years away from retirement, what do you need to be doing right now to prepare and be ready? Tom, it's great to be back in the studio with you. I'm excited for this conversation.
Hey, this is going to be a good one. I think back to when I was growing up, way before your time, Kristen, and we used to have a song called Anticipation. And man, what excitement you get when you're going to take a trip, when you're going to do something. It's something you've looked forward to for a long, long time. I mean, this fall, my wife and I are going to spend about maybe 2 to 3 weeks. My wife wants to go 2 weeks. I want to go 3 weeks, to Europe. And I'm already looking up all the places that we're going to stop and see and all the little villages and the hikes we're going to take and those kind of things. And, you do the same thing for retirement, or you should. And I think it's a sad thing, Kristen, that a lot of people spend more time on a 2 to 3 week vacation to Europe than they do really laying out some ground rules and some solid things about a 2 to 3 decade retirement. So that's what we're going to try to help people with on this show is what are some things you really need to hone in on. You need to get those things set. You don't want to be so structured that you don't enjoy the trip, which you can sometimes, but what you want to do is you want to have some things in place so that it's not totally just random all the way through retirement.
And so to that point, we've put together a checklist for all of you that we're going to be going through on today's show. And of course, top of that list, Tom, the first thing that you recommend folks do is to have a plan. That's what it's all about.
Get a plan. And for that, most of the time people use an advisor. They get an advisor who's not retired before necessarily, but someone who's been through retirement with thousands of people. Now, I'm one of the weird people being in this industry that I read everything in the Wall Street Journal, Kiplinger's, all the magazines, everything on the internet when it talks about retirement and getting ready for retirement, whether it's 5 years like we're talking about today, or whether it's any aspect of retirement. And every single article starts with get a plan, get an action plan before you start. When you fly somewhere,
right?
You get on a plane. That pilot has a plan.
Yes.
And you've got to have a plan. Now, in the course of taking that flight, if I'm flying from Southern California to Dallas, okay, we get out over the river, Colorado River, we make a little adjustment. Okay, you can feel the plane do that. You get over Phoenix or Albuquerque, you make a little adjustment. But everything is set in that entire trip based on a plan that has been filed beforehand. And you need, in that plan, they've thought about everything. I don't know if you've seen, one of the kids that used to be in my youth department was the very first pilot that went in the air after 9/11.
Oh, wow.
And he used to fly 747s. And, he told about the experience of how weird it was to be up and nobody else was up yet again.
Sure.
But I've been with him before, and when I was talking to Roger, they've got such an extended plan, a checklist that they go through to make sure the flaps are working, and that's about the only word I know, but make sure this is working, and when you get out and you're ready to take off, they'll rev the engines a little bit to make sure they're working, and you'll see the flaps go up and down and sideways and all kinds of, they just are checking everything out before they get up in the air. That's what a plan does for you. It gives you this is where we're headed, this is what we want to do in retirement, this is what we have, because what you want to do and what you have to match up, but this is what our retirement is going to look like.
And I know that you love being able to then tell folks what they can do, not what they can't do, right? You want to make their retirement dreams a reality.
I actually have so many people that come in and they're working with a big box firm, and that's one of the ones that you see the commercials on the weekends, and because you're paying for the commercials, so they want to make sure you see the commercials during the ball games or the golf tournaments and those kind of things. And they say, my advisor says I can only take 4% out a year to be sure that I'm not going to run out of money. I want you to know there are other ways to build a plan than that. That's the Monte Carlo model. When you think of Monte Carlo, most people think of gambling. There are other ways to take some of the gambling out and pass off some of the risk of ever running out of money. The #1 survey of people who are 58 years of age and older, an old Rutgers University study that's been repeated by other people, the #1 problem of people or fear of people who are over 58 years of age is not dying. We know we're going to die. It's running out of money before you die. That's why you need a plan. You need a plan that's more than just take 4%. 4% of $1 million is only $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
And I've had so many people come to me and they say, you know, we see your plan, we understand your plan, it makes sense. And now we can go enjoy our go-go years because we have a plan and we're not going to run out of money when we're 85, so we can go to Europe when we're 65. That's what a plan will do for you.
Absolutely. It really does set you free, and it's the foundation for everything else we're talking about on this checklist. Second item on the checklist is to build your emergency fund. And Tom, I think it's really interesting. I think a lot of folks have heard that they need to have an emergency fund for most of their lives, right? Typically, you hear 6 to 24 months worth of your expenses saved up. For someone who's 5 years away from retirement, do you have a certain amount that you typically recommend that folks focus on and prepare to build for their emergency savings?
That is a fabulous question. It is a feel question and not a fact question. In other words, there's not 2 months of your income, 3 months, 6 months, 10,000, 20,000. I've seen them all over the place. One couple. And if you have a business, if you own a business, you need to keep more money in cash available, readily available in an emergency fund. I just want to stress that in retirement, stuff still happens, okay? And you're always going to have things, and it's a feel thing. How much do you feel like you're comfortable with? Some people are comfortable, to your point and to your question, some people are comfortable if they save $10,000 that's readily available in the bank. Some people want to have $50,000, and it really is something that's the one thing. A lot of people look at a financial advisor as just a guy who makes me money. But a financial planner and somebody who's going to walk with you through retirement is somebody who's going to let you talk through these things. And they're not going to always be giving you dictates, and they're not going to be always telling you what to do, but they're going to be saying, hey, here are your options. Think about this. How do you feel about this? Because the best plan in the world, if you don't understand it and you don't know it and you don't feel good about it, is a horrible plan because you don't understand it and feel good about it. So how much do you have in the emergency fund? That's up to you. It really depends on you.
And that's a really interesting answer, because our third thing on the checklist has to do with maxing out the contributions to your retirement plans. And you and I have talked both on the television show and on the radio show about this financial vortex where folks have these competing set of financial priorities that make them pulled in different directions. And so I could hear maybe some viewers thinking, okay, I'm supposed to max out my retirement accounts, but I'm also supposed to build this emergency fund. How do I know where to, what money to put where depending on my situation?
And I think people have been deciding different buckets to put money for a long time. I mean, you've got the kids, you've got to put money in the kid bucket.
Right.
And you and I have done and talked on this show about the vortex of people when they're 45 to 60 years of age, because many times you're covering parents.
Yes.
And you're helping parents, and you've got kids that are still at home, and you've got the nursing home for the parents, and you've got the Parent Plus loans for the kids. So you're really in the middle. You can't forget yourself. You can't forget that you're the goose in many cases that's laying the golden egg for the family. So you've got to make sure that make your retirement a priority. And in the last 5 years before retirement, what we see when people are wise enough to seek us out and to help us to let us help them start building a retirement plan. What happens is they hit that home stretch. It's, you know, the Kentucky Derby was not too long ago, and I just remember that straightaway, and oh man, those horses were going, it was so close, it was great, but those horses were going all out, maybe faster than they were going on the curves, because life has had its curves, and life has had all of its vortex that are hitting you all along. But you get to the end of retirement, that's the time to really, you know, lay some rubber on the street, as the racers used to say, and really go for saving money. Max out your retirement plan. Don't forget about yourself in that last 5 years. The kids may be out of the house, maybe coming back later, but they're out of the house for now. And the kids are out of the house, maybe the parents are taken care of. Take care of yourself. Max out your retirement plan. If you've got a 401k, at least get the match. Max it out. You can put $30,500 if you're over 50 in a 401k or a 403b in 2024. Go for it. You don't have one? Go for an IRA or a Roth IRA, even better. But max out your retirement plan right in the last 5 years. It's just a little bit of the things, we got a lot more.
Oh, for sure. But it all starts with that plan. So
Yep.
I know, explain to folks when they call in about the retirement blueprint and how that's going to help them determine all these different competing priorities and what we've already talked about on the show.
Another great question. A lot of times we have people call in and they say, well, send me a plan. Well, I don't know the plan. I don't know your plan, because your plan depends on where you are. That would be like you calling me up and saying, tell me how to get to Disneyland. Well, the first thing I would need to know is, where are you now? So when we start, we call it a retirement blueprint. We build a retirement blueprint, 6 advisors, 6 offices spread all over Southern California. You come in, you meet with us, you bring what you have. We call it a lumberyard. And we begin to construct a blueprint for a house you can live in the rest of your life. But it's all depending on the lumberyard that you've built for yourself to this point. So if you want one of those, please call the number. Kristen's going to give it to you in a moment. Call the number and get on our schedule. Come in and get it started. You say, I'm not 5 years. It doesn't matter where you are. We're helping people in their 30s get started, because the sooner you start, the better off you're going to be when the finish line is there. You're going to be better prepared for that time.
Tom, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, to call and claim your complimentary retirement blueprint, that number to call is there on the bottom of your screen. Simply dial 866-709-1462. Or if you'd rather not talk to someone right now, but you do have your smartphone handy, if you simply pull it out, open up that camera app. If you point, click, and scan that QR code that you see there down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, that will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then a member of the team from 𝗬̱Sie Wealth Management will reach out to connect with you to schedule your complimentary visit that way as well. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to continue on this checklist of the important things you need to be doing to prepare yourself for retirement. Specifically, I'm going to ask Tom about the house conversation. What do you do with your home? That is such a big subject affecting so many folks here in Southern California. Stay with us to hear what Tom has to say right after this.
My company now, we're up to 12 people. And we have 6 advisors and 6 support staff. Our main office is right across the street from Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, right above the Partners Credit Union. We're on the 2nd floor above that. But we have a satellite office now in Glendale, north of downtown LA. Out east, we're in Chino. And then down in San Diego, we have a really quickly growing office down in Scripps Ranch. We're still a little bit like mom and pop. We don't just like our staff and our employees. We love them. We have lunch together. I bring in lunch on Mondays, and we spend about an hour just talking about the weekend and talking about life with all 12 of us that are there. There's some businesses where everybody pulls together and where everybody pulls their own way. It's definite in our company that everybody pulls together. We care about each other. It blesses my heart to see a couple of my new advisors come in on a Monday, and they're talking about the fact that they took their wives out together, the 4 of them, and went out for dinner on a Saturday night. In fact, one noted person told me recently, he said the chances that somebody would start a business and in your area and get to where you guys are at 𝗬̱Sie Wealth Management is about probably 1 in 50,000 because of the success we've had and the focus we've had on working with people to make sure they don't run out of money.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and today we are talking about the things you need to be thinking about and preparing to do if you are 5 years away from retirement. But Tom, as you said earlier in the show, it doesn't really matter where someone is in their retirement journey. All of these things apply, but especially if you're within 5 years, you want to be paying attention to each of the items we're talking about today.
You know, it's like a football game. What you do in the first quarter, if you make a mistake in the football game, and I'm an old football coach and I don't agree with this, but some people say, well, if you make a mistake in the first quarter, it's not that bad. It's still bad. It's still not good, but you still have time to recover.
Right.
But if you make a mistake in those last 5 years, it's really difficult for you to recover, because then you're wanting to extend your work life. If you're too risky in the market and the market has a big downturn, you have to work longer. There's a lot of things that are around what we're talking about today.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, this next item on the list has to do with someone's home, and we know that this can be a huge source of stress for folks as they are approaching retirement. It's what do I do with it? And Tom, really, there's 4 sub-questions that I know you walk people through as they are trying to decide how to navigate this house decision. So let's walk through those for our viewers.
Okay, you know, the most important one, I'll go a little bit out of order for what we have on our notes, is do I stay or do I go? Do we stay in California, or do we move to Tennessee like the rest of the world, or Texas, or
Idaho,
Florida, or
right?
Idaho? That's right. I mean, my registered investment advisor firm, we've never marketed outside of the state of California. And we are now, when you reach 5 clients in a state, you have to register with the SEC officially. And we are now in 6 states of people where at least 5 people have moved, and they're still our clients, so they just stay with us. So do I stay or do I go? It's a big financial decision. I mean, if you're going to move away, I'm going to tell you what won't work. If you're going to move away from your kids and your church, synagogue, mosque, you're going to move away from your friends, your neighborhood, biggest thing, you're going to move away from your grandkids. It's going to be a tough move. And that's sometimes like a boomerang. It goes and then it comes back. Now let me tell you what the financial boomerang of moving away and then moving back. Realtors love you because you sell your house here, the realtor loves you. You have to buy a house there because you want to put that money into a home, and you live there for a year and you don't like the winters. I had one lady one time tell me she wanted to move to Scottsdale, Arizona, and I said, why? She said, because I was over there for a week and it was 79 degrees every day. And I said, lady, you were there in February. Go there in July and see what it's like in July.
Right.
So you don't like it, so you sell that house. That's the 3rd house sale, 3rd realtor you've helped. You move back to California and you buy another house. So do I stay or do I go? Realtor, 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 realtor. I'm not against realtors. I'm just for you saving your money. And we've calculated it could be $160,000 to $180,000 out of your pocket just to buy and sell houses in making a wrong move. So do I stay or do I go? That's a big one. Second big one is, do I pay it off? Do I pay it off? Or do I keep a note? And a lot of people got low interest rates a few years ago, not now. But the question there is, and let me just tell you my experience from 29 plus years of doing this. The most contented people I have are the people who have their house free and clear, paid off. It's done. And I liken it, I always have sports analogies, but I liken it to running the low hurdles versus running the high hurdles. If you've got that mortgage payment every month, you've got to jump that high hurdle every 30 days, 31 days. If you've got it paid off, it's like running the low hurdles in life. Your budget has the biggest item on almost every budget is taken care of if you've gotten the house paid off. So you're 5 years from retirement. I'm going to tell you something you're not going to necessarily like to hear. You might consider working 6 years or 7 years to get the house completely paid off, because almost everybody who watches this show wants to live in a house the rest of their life. You understand what I'm saying? And having that house paid off is great. Some people say, well, I don't know if we're going to stay or go. It's back to your first point. Well, if you're going to stay or you're going to go, your house paid off doesn't hurt you at all.
Right. Well, then there's the other conversation of maybe not leaving the state of California. Maybe you either keep the house or maybe you move to something smaller and downsize. I know a lot of folks are considering that move as well.
Right. And we're all over Southern California with all of our offices that our advisors meet with people in. And we have people in the Inland Empire. We have people that live inland. And it's 15 to 20 degrees in the summer, warmer there. And a lot of people say, we want to sell our house here and move closer to the beach, or we want to relocate, or we want to downsize. Particularly ladies say, I'm tired of having the 4 or 5 bedroom house that we needed when we had all the kids at home, and we want to downsize. That's an issue. That's a financial issue. It's something you need to consider in that last 5 years before you do retire.
Yeah, for sure. And then I know we've talked too about, do people upgrade? Do they enjoy and do they remodel? Right? That's a whole nother conversation that comes into play.
You know, the thing that I always like is that if I meet with somebody and I can put together a plan for you, and you're afraid you're going to run out of money in your 80s and 90s if you live that long, and you see the plan we put together, people have the peace in their heart to go ahead and fix the house. Some people come in and say, well, you know, I was going to fix up the house, but the guy I'm working with says I need to wait a few years to make sure I'm not going to run out of money. I think that's a terrible thing to do, because you're not going to enjoy those years, and those are going to be your go-go years, and you need to fix that house up. If you decide to stay, fix it up. Do the kitchen, do the bathroom, do whatever you want to do. Do what you need to do to make it what you want, because that's the rest of your life, and you need to make sure and prepare for it.
For sure.
House is a big deal.
It is a big deal. What's next on the list as you think about preparing for retirement here?
We're going to eliminate debt. We're going to eliminate debt. If you are running the high hurdles or the low hurdles, or if you're just running a sprint, or if you're running a marathon, lay aside those weights. And debt is a weight. Instead of you earning money on your money and growing your money, you're paying money on the money you've borrowed for immediacy. So laying aside every weight that you can and eliminating those debts is so key. And if you're 5 years away, remember, this is what we're talking about. If you're 10 years away, 15 years away, you've got more time, but get it done. I mean, do a debt snowball, and we help people work through those as well, where we'll give you instructions. A lot of times people have debt, and it's like, where do I go? What do I pay off first? Right. Well, you know, it's like a kid when you put them in a room that's cluttered with toys and you say, clean this thing up. They don't know where to start. Well, we help people a lot of times do a debt snowball, so you're able to get out of debt so you can start preparing for retirement. Really a big thing.
For sure. And then, of course, there's planning out your budget for retirement, which I know that's a huge piece of the retirement blueprint, is making sure folks know where their income is going to come from.
Let me give you a scenario. Tom, do you really want us to put together a budget for retirement? Yeah, how can we know if you're going to have enough money to last the rest of your life if we don't know what you're spending? So you say, well, how do I determine, you know, this is the kickback I have. How do I determine what that budget needs to be because I'm not retired yet? Well, then I come back and I say, what's your budget right now? Oops. You know, it's like the cat that ate the canary.
Yep.
They don't have a budget right now. You don't have a budget sometime right now. Getting a budget now can help you. You work from the known to the unknown in science. And it's the same way with a budget. Get a budget now for what you're spending now, and you'll be able to know or forecast what you're going to be spending in retirement.
And it all starts with that retirement blueprint. That's what that is designed to do, is to help folks figure out all these different pieces.
It is, and that's what we help people put together.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So if you would like to claim your complimentary retirement blueprint, again, this is for no cost, no charge, no obligation. It's simply an invitation to have a conversation to see how the team of Moseley Wealth Management can help and serve you. We encourage you to pick up the phone and call that number that you see below, 866-709-1462. Or you're also welcome to scan that QR code, and that will get you connected as well. We've got some more things to be thinking about on our checklist for you. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this.
Better is just better, but it doesn't begin without a plan. Better, it's the American way, from a better house to a better career to a better life for our kids. Americans strive for better. But when it comes to your retirement, what does better mean to you? A better income? A better lifestyle? A better solution? A better retirement begins with a financial plan. To get your complimentary financial plan, call the number you see here. It's your retirement and an opportunity for better.
Welcome back, Southern California. You're watching Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley. We've been going through some of the things you need to be thinking about and preparing for if you're within 5 years of retirement. Next up on our checklist, Tom, is updating your estate plan. This is so crucial to make sure that everything is up to date from an estate planning perspective. Talk about that.
Well, the easiest people I have to talk into getting their estate plans in order are the people who've just lost their parents whose estate plans were not in order. Because if you ever go through that and you have to gather information and mom's not there, dad's not there to gather all of that information, you get yourself in gear and you get your own estate plan. I've had so many people, before they even got their parents' estate put together and solved, and keeping the family together without fighting, because if there's no plan, it's like a recipe for fighting and disaster among the siblings and the family and the people that are left. Mom promised me this, dad promised me that. Well, if it's not in writing, it doesn't mean anything. So you can't take care of your mom and dad necessarily. You need to get your estate plan. The other thing, and it's on our list, is gather your stuff. And getting that estate plan put together will help you gather your stuff. By what I mean, you delineate in that estate plan everything. Now, we don't do estate plans because we're not attorneys, but we do the other half of the estate planning. The other half of the estate planning is the financial aspect of it, and that's the retirement blueprint that we put together. And we put together that retirement blueprint based on, as we've said in the show already, the lumber yard that you've built together and your 401ks, your IRAs. Those are not estate plans. Those are not retirement plans. Those are retirement accounts. We take and then we build it. And what's in a retirement blueprint? All of our guys that meet with all of our people all over Southern California, when you come in, here's what we do. We look at your income to make sure it's guaranteed and it's increasing for life. Increasing, why? Because of inflation. Inflation is now a word we all know. Your investments, you need to know what kind of risk level you have internally, and also what kind of risk level you're taking with your investments. Your taxes. If you've got $1 million in a 401k, it's not all yours. Your health care, your legacy, that's the estate plan, how it's going to work out. After you do all of that, build your bucket list.
Yes.
Build your bucket list. Have a party. Enjoy it. But you can't have a party if you're not happy that you know you have that plan in place.
Tom, thank you so much for your wisdom as always. I so enjoy sharing this time with you, and I love that that's how the note we're going to end on, right? Is we want you to celebrate and have that party for your retirement, but it all starts with having a plan and the confidence and the peace of mind that can come from knowing that you're going to be okay and get to live out the dreams you have for yourself. That number to call, 866-709-1462. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We look forward to being back with you next week here at Right on the Money with Tom Mosley.